Gu Beichen swapped our marriage contracts groom to his uncle Gu Huainan, shocking all his friends.
Are you crazy? What if this backfires? Lin Xingwan has wasted 7 whole years waiting for you and has become an old maid.
Gu Beichen smiled indifferently.
I lost a bet to Ruan and promised to do whatever she asked. Besides, it's just changing a marriage contract. Anyway, Lin Xingwan's marriage has already been ruined 10 times. One more time won't make a difference.
So Ruan was an orphan she took in, and now she serves as her personal maid.
Once he realizes, he'll rush to fix it. If they end up in the bridal chamber, my uncle can't do anything anyway. Lin Xingwan will still be mine, and I'll have leverage.
Her tone was flippant and careless, causing everyone to burst into laughter. I stood at the doorway for a long time, my heart gradually growing cold. In the end, I turned around and poured out all the sobering soup I was holding. Later, when my mother came to me in a panic with a mistaken marriage contract, I simply smiled and replied, "It's alright, just follow what's written on this." This time, I didn't go to him to change the marriage contract, or to the Gu family to propose. On the day I went to the Gu family, it happened that Gu Beichen was taking Su Ruan out for an outing. I casually handed him my wedding invitation, but he just tossed it aside without a second thought.
I won't read your apology letter. Whenever you bring over the hairpin that Ruan likes, I'll forgive you.
I didn't explain, I just watched him leave coldly. Later, on the day of my joyous wedding, Gu Beichen, who had always been aloof and reserved, suddenly went mad and forced his way into the residence.
I'm the groom. Clearly, I'm the groom.
Wan, are you sure you really won't change this marriage contract? But that Gu Huainan is incapable, you know.
My mother's eyes were red, and I felt guilty. Since Gu Beichen agreed to marry me, she was the happiest. She saw me wait 7 years, from my youth to maturity, until I became the capital's mocked old maid. When the betrothal gifts arrived, she cried all night, then spent 30 nights embroidering my dress. But now, Gu Beichen sent Zhang Kuo's contract over a bet with his maid. Exhausted, I looked at the paper and whispered, "Even without love, I'm marrying into the Gu family. I can't be willful." This was the 10th time he had delayed our wedding. Locals stood up for me, condemning his heartlessness twice. Noble ladies wondered why, but after it kept happening, they blamed me. They called me shameless and mean, saying I repelled people, and that my sweetheart, Gu Beichen, simply wouldn't marry me. When he first broke the engagement, I sought another match, but matchmakers refused us immediately. "The young Master Gu has already said that you belong to him. Who would dare compete with him now? Besides, miss, with your reputation as it is, I'm afraid you can only become Madame Gu in the future." My fair index finger landed on the 3 characters of Gu Huainan's name, and I knew that I had finally let go of my entanglement with Gu Beichen, settling into the role of Madame Gu. Only, this Gu was not that Gu. When old Madame Gu learned that I was going to marry Gu Huainan, she was shocked, but since her dearest son had been long ill, she immediately agreed, and even increased the betrothal gifts for me.
Gu Huainan gave you those extra gifts privately.
Mother quietly explained to me, and I nodded as I looked at the countless chests in the courtyard, satisfied with everything. The wedding preparations were in full swing, but unexpectedly, someone I never thought would come paid us a visit. It was Gu Beichen. He was dressed in a dark purple outfit with sleeves tied up, his ponytail held high by a purple gold official's hairpin, looking spirited and full of confidence. His eyes were full of smugness and schadenfreude, and following behind him was Su Ruan. I knew he thought I still hadn't discovered the mistake in the marriage contract. Seeing that I ignored him, he didn't care. He simply picked up the cup I had just drunk from, and finished the tea in one gulp.
Everything for the wedding is ready.
Yes. Hearing my indifferent tone, a strange look flashed across his face, but he only reminded me.
Checked everything. The gifts, invitations, and contract. This is a big deal. Want to double check them one last time?
I pretended not to notice his hint and simply said, "I've already checked everything. If there's nothing else, you should leave early." There was a look on Gu Beichen's face, but he still spoke gently.
I did come to see you about something today. Back then, I gave you my mother's jade bracelet. That bracelet is meant for my future wife. Now that you haven't married into the family yet, shouldn't you return the bracelet to me?
I was stunned. I was only 16 when I got that bracelet. Gu Beichen visited me that sunny day, looking mysterious, and slipped the jade bracelet onto my wrist. It was pure white, top-quality jade, and looked incredibly precious. I tried to take it off, but he held my wrist firmly.
This is the family heirloom my mother prepared for my future wife. You keep it.
Sunlight filtered through, and her smile was brighter still. Later, I learned this jade bracelet was a family heirloom. Madame Gu beat her for taking it, but Gu Beichen confidently said,
I'll only marry one. It doesn't matter when I give her this bracelet.
In the blink of an eye, I had worn that bracelet for 7 years. He gradually became a part of my life, just like Gu Beichen, and silently approached me. Gu Beichen thought I was unwilling, and just as he was about to say something, Su Ruan, standing beside him, took his arm, and gently said, "Maybe we should just let it go. After all, my sister has worn it for so long tonight."
Gu Beichen snapped. No matter how long you've worn it, it belongs to the Gus. I want you to try it on, so you're trying it on.
He wanted it for Su Ruan. I understood, handed him the jade bracelet and said, "Here." Gu Beichen was taken aback, surprised by my directness. I didn't mind and said, "You're right, this belongs to the Gus. Since we aren't married, I shouldn't wear it." Gu Beichen looked uncomfortable as he took it and said,
When we get married, I'll personally put it on you.
Su Ruanan looked jealous. Gu Beichen gave her the bracelet and turned to go. I stopped him. Gu Beichen, since I returned the bracelet, where is the Lin family's pendant? He paused, staring in disbelief.
You want me to return the token of our engagement to you? Lin Xingwan, do you not want to marry me anymore?
In that moment, I almost blurted out and questioned him about who really didn't want this marriage. But in the end, I wanted to preserve the last shred of my dignity and didn't want to be like a resentful woman in the boudoir, questioning everything. I simply said calmly, "I just think it's inappropriate for you to keep that jade pendant." He snorted coldly, reached out to pull the jade pendant from his waist, and tossed it toward me.
This jade pendant saved someone and needs replacing.
Holding Su Ruan's hand, he turned and left. I didn't go after him, only gently touched the crack on the jade pendant. It was a sword mark. Back when he first got the jade pendant, he treasured it dearly and always kept it close to his chest. Until one time, during a bandit suppression, an arrow came flying straight at his heart. Everyone thought Gu Beichen would be seriously injured because of it. Some even thought he might lose his life, but he just stood there in a daze for a moment, then slowly took out the still warm jade pendant from his chest. That jade pendant had blocked the deadly arrow and saved his life. Later, he knelt before me and said,
Wan, you are my lucky star. If it weren't for you, I would have died long ago. From now on, I will never let you down.
Back then, we were incredibly close, but later, even the way he addressed me became distant. He never called me Wan again, all because Su Ruan said our names sounded too similar, which always made her feel like she was just an unnecessary substitute. So from then on, Gu Beichen started calling me directly by my name, Miss. The worried voice of my maid, Xiao Tao, pulled me out of my memories. I handed her the jade pendant. "This jade pendant is cracked. Take it and get rid of it." "But you spent several nights carving this by hand," she said. I just smiled. "It's useless now." After that, Gu Beichen never came to see me again, and there were only 4 days left until my wedding with Gu family's young uncle. That day, my mother took me to meet Madame Gu to discuss the wedding. It was also the first time I met Gu Huainan. She was sitting in a wooden wheelchair, her face carrying an unhealthy pallor, but her features were extremely handsome. Madame Gu said, "Huainan, the peach blossoms in the garden were in full bloom. Take Xingwan for a walk," Madame Gu said. I softly agreed and stepped forward to push Gu Huainan's wheelchair. He was a witty, humorous, and well-learned man, able to chat with me about any topic. He even knew a lot about the most popular rouge and makeup styles in Shengjing these days. I had been a bit nervous at first, but gradually, I found myself relaxing. As we chatted idly, I suddenly felt a sharp gaze fall upon me. I turned to look and saw Gu Beichen standing under the corridor, his dark, deep eyes fixed unblinkingly on Gu Huainan and me. In his hand he was holding a piece of paper. I recognized at a glance that the paper he was holding was the marriage proposal we had just discussed with Madame Gu about my engagement to Gu Huainan. Gu Beichen's eyes were deep and unreadable, but the tight line of his lips made it clear that he was not in a good mood. When he saw me turn to look at him, he walked over slowly.
Why are you with my uncle?
Before I could explain, Gu Huainan glanced at him and spoke indifferently.
Why should I have to report my affairs to you?
His voice was a bit cold, completely different from the gentle tone he used when speaking to me earlier. Just that one sentence made Gu Beichen's expression change slightly. It was only at this moment that I belatedly remembered that before Gu Huainan was injured, he was also the famous god of war in Daxi, the pillar of the Gu family. Gu Beichen held the invitation and said,
I just don't want to trouble Uncle. Uncle, I still have something to discuss with Xinwan. Could you?
Gu Huainan's gaze fell on me, and I hesitated for a moment. He nodded slightly, then wheeled himself to the corridor, not too far, not too close. Far enough that he couldn't hear our conversation, but close enough to see everything in the garden clearly. Seeing this, Gu Beichen frowned, looking somewhat displeased, but he didn't dare to lose his temper. He simply fixed his gaze on me, and as soon as he spoke, it was to question me sternly.
Lin Xingwan, why did you sell our token of love, the jade pendant?
I told Xiao Tao to take the jade pendant and sell it cheaply at any random shop. After all those twists and turns, it somehow ended up back with Gu Beichen, broken. It had to be tossed, I said simply, without overdoing it.
Alright then, but in the future, you have to give me an even better one. Still, that day, I was just speaking offhand, yet, you actually went and sold it. Aren't you being a bit too obedient? If in the future, I were to say that I want Ruan to be my wife, and you could only be a concubine, would you rush to help me bring her into the household?
I looked at him surprised. I clearly didn't want that jade pendant, but he thought it was because of his offhand comment that day. He thought it was his casual remark that made me sell the jade pendant, and even say such muddled things. For a moment I was almost amused by his self-assured look, but in the end I didn't want to stir up more trouble. I simply handed him my wedding invitation and said that if there was nothing else I would head back to the residence first. This was the etiquette of the Shi family. If he was to send a wedding invitation, naturally I had to give him one as well. But before I could finish speaking, Gu Beichen took the invitation from me, his attitude nonchalant.
The date is in 4 days. Tomorrow, I'm hunting out of town with Ruan and might not be back. Please tell grandmother for me. Let's change the date to 5 days from now.
I looked at him in surprise, feeling that Gu Beichen was acting inexplicably today. That day, he deliberately wrote the marriage contract wrong, and afterwards, neither of us brought it up again. Now, my marriage is naturally being discussed according to the contract, and the person I'm supposed to marry is Gu Huainan, but he seems to have completely forgotten about this, speaking as if I would marry no one but him. I don't know if he's just too confident, or if he underestimates those rules. Maybe I was silent for too long, because he sighed, as if compromising.
Once finished, I'll rush back.
As he spoke, he lowered his head, about to look at the wedding invitation, when a clear, bright female voice rang out. Beichen Geiga! Su Ruansoft darted into his arms like a spring hawk. Gu Beichen instinctively caught her. I've already packed everything, she said. And then, as if just noticing me, she hurriedly let go, flustered. Fiddling with the white jade bracelet in her hand, she said, Xingwan Jie, don't misunderstand. He would never
be that petty.
Gu Beichen casually stuffed the wedding invitation into his embroidered robe, then rubbed Su Ruansoft's head and said,
He knows I treat you like a younger sister, so he wouldn't mind such trivial things.
Su Ruansoft took a steady breath, forced a smile and said, Sister Xinwan, you're really generous. I thought if Auntie were alone and encountered something like this, she'd definitely get jealous. Gu Beichen was taken aback, his gaze falling on my calm face, and for the first time, he looked a little uneasy.
Xinwan, you...
It's getting late, I still need to go back and prepare for the wedding day. He was stunned. Head.
Right, you should hurry back and get ready. Once you marry into the Gu family, I will definitely treat you well.
I couldn't be bothered to say anything more to him, and left without hesitation. 4 days later, the Gu family's wedding procession arrived early. I had thought Gu Huainan would choose to ride in a carriage, but unexpectedly, I don't know what method he used, he actually rode a tall white horse. Through the swaying beaded curtain of my phoenix coronet, he gave me a gentle smile. His warm large hand held mine as we slowly walked out to the joyful cheers. When I looked up at him, I saw his forehead. Sweat beaded his brow. We bowed to heaven, earth, and our elders. The matchmaker's voice rose. As we turned for the final bow, a commotion erupted outside.
Let me in. I'm the real groom.
A figure burst in. It was Gu Beichen, who had taken Su Ruanruan out of the capital for an outing. He looked a bit disheveled. When he saw me in my wedding dress, Gu Beichen immediately cursed.
Lin Xingwan, have you no shame? Just because I was a little late, you actually went ahead and married another man so casually?
Everyone looked at him with strange expressions because everyone knew that today was my wedding with Gu Huainan. As Gu Huainan's junior, he should respectfully call me aunt. But perhaps he was too angry to notice any of this. His face was full of contempt.
Let me tell you, I was deliberately late today, thinking that if you behaved yourself, I would let you marry into the Gu family. As for your uncle, he's just being immature and causing trouble. But why are you following along with his nonsense? Lin Xingwan, why are you still standing there in a daze? Hurry over and help me change into my wedding dress.
The main hall fell into complete silence, and the guests looked at each other in astonishment. On the high seat, old Madame Gu's face was ashen, her eyes bloodshot, as she glared fiercely at Gu Beichen. Suddenly, she slammed her hand on the rosewood chair and shouted angrily, You wretched child, what nonsense are you spouting? Today is your uncle's wedding day. I won't allow you to act crazy here. Someone, drag him out for me. Gu Beichen was stunned, his eyes filled with disbelief.
My uncle's wedding day? How is that possible? It's clearly supposed to be my wedding with Lin Xingwan.
Gu Beichen was firmly held down by several servants. Blood from his forehead trickled down his cheek, staining the luxurious brocade robe with glaring red blotches. He was completely stunned for a moment, as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. Those usually nonchalant eyes were now filled with shock and disbelief, staring fixedly at the old Madame Gu seated at the head of the hall. Just as he was about to be dragged out, Gu Beichen suddenly lost control and struggled violently, forcefully shaking off the servants holding him. His strength was so great that several of them staggered back a few steps. He pointed at me, his voice hoarse and tinged with a crazed desperation.
Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Lin Xingwan is clearly my wife. We grew up together as childhood sweethearts. Our marriage was arranged since we were children. When my father and mother were alive, they had already tacitly agreed to it. Who in the entire capital doesn't know this? How could she possibly marry my uncle? There must be some mistake. This is all of you conspiring to deceive me.
He staggered forward toward Madame Gu, his knees crashing heavily onto the cold golden bricks with a dull thud. The scab on his forehead split open from the impact, and fresh blood gushed out again, covering half his face, making him look both wretched and ferocious.
Grandmother, you love me the most. Please tell them that this marriage contract is fake. It's Lin Xingwan. She's shameless and wants to cling to uncle, so she deliberately altered the marriage contract. Please have them pull her away so I can marry her in the ceremony.
Madame Gu was so angry that her whole body trembled, her chest heaving violently. Even the finger she pointed at Gu Beichen was shaking. She took a deep breath, forcefully suppressing the fury in her heart, and her voice was icy cold and piercing. You unfilial child, how long are you going to keep spouting nonsense? You were the one who altered the marriage contract yourself. Do you think I don't know? For the sake of a maid, you used your own marriage as a wager and treated Xinwan's reputation like a joke. Now you barge in here, make a scene at the wedding, and slander your own aunt. Do you have any sense of what it means to be a descendant of the Gu family?
I did it.
Gu Beichen was stunned for a moment, then as if recalling something, his eyes flickered, but he still stubbornly refused to admit it.
Grandmother, you're wronging me. How could I do such a thing? It must have been Lin Xingwan. She didn't want to marry me and deliberately set me up.
Hearing this, I spoke coldly. My voice was calm, yet carried an undeniable authority. How could there be a mistake? As I finished speaking, Xiao Tao walked forward holding a rosewood tray. On the tray lay that marriage contract with a red background and golden characters. It was carefully wrapped in a layer of transparent brocade. He respectfully presented the marriage contract to everyone, showing it to all the guests. The names written clearly on this marriage contract are those of my lady and young master Gu Huainan, with the Gu family seal and the imperial marriage certificate number personally bestowed by His Majesty. There's no way it could be fake. I continued. All the wedding invitations sent out by the Lin family in recent days also bear both our names. Any family of some standing has received one, so there's no way there could be a mistake. Gu Beichen, you deliberately altered the marriage contract, but have yet to come forward and correct it. Now that Huainan and I have completed the wedding ceremony, you barge in and cause a scene. So who is truly at fault here? Your shamelessness is plain for all to see. Upon hearing this, the guests who had come to witness the ceremony began to chime in, their voices rising and falling like waves, all directed at Gu Beichen. That's right, that's right. Just a few days ago, our family did indeed receive a wedding invitation for Miss Lin and young Master Gu Huainan. It was written very clearly. How could it have been for Gu Beichen? I received one too. And these past days, it was young Master Gu Huainan himself who took care of all the wedding preparations for the Gu family. He personally went to the silk shop to choose the fabric for the wedding clothes, personally picked out rouge and powder for Miss Lin at the cosmetic shop, and even oversaw and finalized every detail of the bridal chamber's decoration. If she weren't his own bride, who would be so attentive? Isn't that right? And where has Gu Beichen been all this time? I heard she's been off somewhere with that maid, Su Ruan. He went hunting and having fun in the outskirts of the capital, not caring at all about his own fiancé's wedding. He doesn't act like a groom in the slightest, and now he has the nerve to barge in and make a scene. What a disgrace. If you ask me, Gu Beichen is just reaping what he sowed. Miss Lin waited for him for 7 years, but he broke his promise again and again. Now that Miss Lin is marrying someone else, he's suddenly anxious. Where was all this urgency before? Everyone chimed in, their tones full of contempt and mockery. Those words were like needles, stabbing hard into Gu Beichen's heart. He had actually gone to the outskirts with Su Ruan on purpose, just to keep me in check. He deliberately delayed his return until the last minute, wanting to make me anxious, wanting me to beg him first. But things didn't go as he wished, and he ended up becoming the target of everyone's scorn and condemnation. Over the years, everyone in the capital has witnessed his actions. At first, there were people who stood up for me, criticizing him for being heartless and untrustworthy. But as it happened again and again, people saw his true nature. Some thought he was clever, able to keep a woman firmly under his control, but even more people looked down on what he did. They thought he didn't deserve a devoted woman like Lin Xingwan. Gu Beichen's face flushed red and then turned pale, looking as ugly as a painter's palette. She clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging deep into her palms and leaving bloody marks, yet she still refused to give up. Her gaze was fixed on me, filled with a hint of pleading, a trace of unwillingness, and even a bit of panic she herself hadn't noticed. Gritting her teeth, she asked,
Lin Xingwan, are you really going to marry a cripple out of a moment of impulsiveness? He can't even stand up, he can't give you happiness. It's not too late to turn back now. As long as you say the word, I'll pretend none of this ever happened. We can go back to how we were before. I'll marry you and make you my rightful Mrs. Gu.
She paused for a moment, then added,
You and he have only lost to each other twice. You haven't even entered the bridal chamber. You're not truly married yet. It's still not too late to change your mind now. If you really consummate the marriage, there will be no chance to regret it. Think carefully. After 7 years of being together, can you really just let go like that?
I looked at him coldly, my eyes devoid of any emotion. I simply instructed the servant beside me, take him away, don't let him delay the auspicious hour. The last trace of color drained from Gu Beichen's face. His lips trembled as if he wanted to say something, but not a single word came out, just as the servants were about to drag him away again. Suddenly, as if he remembered something, a crazed light flashed in his eyes. He broke free from the servant's grip and roared,
You can't marry him. My uncle is a useless cripple who can't even tell right from wrong. If you marry him, you'll never find happiness in this life. You'll just be a living widow. Lin Xingwan, wake up, you beast.
In the deathly silence of the wedding hall, a sudden angry shout rang out. Madame Gu could no longer hold back. She grabbed a celadon teacup from beside her and hurled it fiercely at Gu Beichen. The teacup, slicing through the air with a sharp whistle, struck Gu Beichen hard on the temple and shattered with a loud crack. Shards of porcelain splattered him, and bright red blood flowed down his sharply defined face, slowly staining his vision crimson. Yet Gu Beichen didn't lift a hand to wipe it away. It was as if he couldn't feel any pain at all. He just stared straight at me, his eyes filled with stubbornness and madness, and said, word by word,
"What I said is true. After Uncle got injured, he was never the same again. This is an open secret in the Gu family, but everyone keeps quiet about it for the sake of appearances. No one is willing to say it out loud. Marrying him is like jumping into a pit of fire. I can't just stand by and watch you ruin your whole life because of me."
My heart trembled. In that moment, I wondered if Gu Beichen had truly lost his mind. After Gu Huainan was injured, he had been bedridden and relied on a wheelchair to get around. Although there were occasional rumors in the capital that he was no longer a real man, they were just rumors. No one dared to bring it up openly. After all, Gu Huainan had once been a legendary war god of Daxi, earning great military honors for the country, and the Gu family was a prominent and noble clan. If such rumors were ever confirmed, it would not only ruin Gu Huainan's reputation, but also make the Gu family the laughingstock of the entire capital. Yet today, Gu Beichen, Gu Huainan's own nephew, actually revealed this enormous secret in front of all the guests. This was undoubtedly a slap in the face to the Gu family, to Gu Huainan, and to me as well. I'm afraid that within half a day, this news will spread throughout the capital. By then, not only Gu Huainan and the Gu family, but even I and the Lin family. We too would become the talk of the town, pointed at and gossiped about by everyone. In the wedding hall, everyone was silent, as if treading on thin ice, not daring to speak, barely even daring to breathe. The guests exchanged glances, their eyes filled with shock and a look of anticipation for drama. Clearly none of them had expected such a scandal to erupt at this grand wedding. I took a deep breath, suppressing the anger and humiliation in my heart, and slowly walked up to Gu Beichen. A trace of hope flashed across his face, thinking that I had been persuaded by his words, that I would regret it and leave with him. But in the next second, I raised my hand and slapped him hard. The crisp sound echoed sharply in the silent wedding hall. I didn't hold back at all with this slap. I used all my strength. Clear finger marks immediately appeared on the left side of Gu Beichen's face, 5 bright red imprints burning into his skin. Gu Beichen's pupils contracted slightly, and he was completely stunned, looking at me in disbelief, as if he couldn't imagine I would treat him this way. He covered his face. His eyes were filled with shock, anger, and grievance as he spoke in a hoarse voice.
You hit me.
That's right, I hit you, I said coldly, my voice full of icy hatred. Who are you to criticize my husband? Who do you think the Lin family is? Who do you think I, Lin Xingwan, am? When we got engaged, do you really think we wouldn't look into even such a minor matter, since I dared to marry him? Of course I had already investigated thoroughly. Huainan is healthy and strong, not the useless person you claim he is. You're just trying to ruin someone else's happiness because you can't have it yourself. Gu Beichen, you are truly despicable and shameless to the extreme. As soon as I finished speaking, the atmosphere at the wedding banquet immediately became lively. The guests all chimed in. Yes, Miss Lin is absolutely right. The Lin family is a renowned and distinguished family in the capital. How could they not thoroughly investigate their daughter's future husband? This Gu Beichen must be out of his mind. To stop this marriage, he actually went so far as to slander his own uncle. If you ask me, these rumors are completely false. Young Master Gu Huainan was once a god of war, so impressive. Even if he was injured, there's no way he could be some useless cripple, incapable of fulfilling his duties as a husband. Gu Beichen must have spread these rumors. His intentions are malicious. He won't marry Miss Lin, yet won't let anyone else have her. So selfish. Stunned, he soon realized my implication. In the capital, noble families often send a matron to the groom's house to verify his virility before the wedding. By saying this, I was hinting at his secret to everyone. I had already sent a matron to verify Gu Huainan's condition. She was not as the rumors claimed, but only I knew that this marriage happened so hastily that I neither had the time nor the inclination to arrange for any marriage testing matron. The reason I said this was simply to silence everyone, to protect Gu Huainan's reputation, and to preserve my own dignity. That slap seemed to have completely woken Gu Beichen up. He pressed his lips together, his face pale. Just as he was about to retort, a figure stumbled in, pushed aside the servants restraining Gu Beichen, and then tightly hugged him, her voice tinged with tears. Beichen, are you all right? Don't scare me like that.
It was Su Ruinsoft who came in.
She was dressed in a pink gown, her hair a bit disheveled, her face filled with anxiety and worry, looking pitiful and delicate. She raised her hand. She gently wiped the blood from the corner of Gu Beichen's mouth. As her sleeve slipped down, it revealed a translucent, snow-white jade bracelet on her wrist. It was the family heirloom that Gu Beichen had taken back from me to give to her. Madame Gu's expression changed instantly. She stared fixedly at the jade bracelet on Su Ruansoft's wrist, her eyes filled with shock and anger. That jade bracelet was a family heirloom passed down through generations on the maternal side of the Gu family and could only be given to the official daughter-in-law of the Gu family. Back then, it belonged to Gu Beichen's mother. She married into the Gu family, wearing this very jade bracelet. Now, seeing this bracelet on the wrist of a mere maid was undoubtedly a great humiliation to the Gu family. Madame Gu strode over to Su Ruansoft, grabbed her wrist with such force that Su Ruansoft frowned in pain. Madame Gu questioned her harshly. Where did you get this bracelet? Who allowed you to wear it? Su Ruansoft's eyes darted around, and she immediately put on a pitiful expression, her eyes turning red and brimming with tears. Choking up, she said, Madam, this bracelet was temporarily lent to me by Brother Beichen. He said to let me wear it for now, and to return it to Sister Gu Jia Qingwan when I find the right person in the future. Are you marrying Uncle Gu because you're upset about this jade bracelet? If that's the case, I'll return the bracelet to you right now. You and Brother Beichen should be together. I wish you both happiness. In just a few words, he first clarified his relationship with Gu Beichen. He spoke ambiguously, hinting that Gu Beichen had feelings for him, and made it seem like the real reason I was marrying Gu Huainan was just because of something as trivial as the bracelet being taken away. He painted himself as an innocent and kind victim, while I became a petty and impulsive woman. Sure enough, before she could take off the bracelet, Gu Beichen instead grabbed her hand, shielding her behind him, and said to Madame Gu,
Grandmother, this bracelet is a gift from me to Ruan. Lin Xingwan has already made up her mind to marry Uncle, so she is no longer a daughter-in-law of the Gu family and naturally has no right to wear this bracelet anymore. Ruan is kind and sensible. She deserves this bracelet.
A flash of pride appeared on Su Ruan's face, but as soon as she met Madame Gu's sharp gaze, she immediately lowered her head and pretended to be shy, softly saying, Beichen, don't say that. I'm just a maid. How could I possibly deserve such a precious bracelet?
If I say you deserve it, then you deserve it.
Lu Beichen spoke with determination, then turned his head and finally glanced at me, his eyes full of unwillingness and resentment.
Lin Xingwan, I'll wait for the day you regret this. I really want to see how happy you can be marrying a cripple.
With that, she pulled Su Ruan along and left the wedding hall without looking back, leaving behind a scene of utter chaos. Amidst the murmuring and gossiping guests, I felt a certain disdain in my heart, and merely sneered as I watched his departing figure. What he doesn't know is that my decision to marry Gu Huainan was not made on a whim, but after careful consideration. I waited for him for 7 years, wasted 7 years of my youth, only to be met with repeated betrayal and humiliation. My feelings for him have long since died. As for Gu Huainan, he is gentle and considerate, knowledgeable and witty, and he respects me. It's enough that he cherishes me, and besides, I also intend to seek justice for those 7 wasted years. Because Gu Huainan has difficulty walking, no one insisted on toasting or making mischief in the bridal chamber. After the simple ceremony ended, the guests gradually dispersed. I followed Gu Huainan back to the wedding room, where a cluster of large red candles was burning. The flickering candlelight bathed the entire room in warmth, and a faint scent of osmanthus filled the air. The fresh and pleasant scent lifted my spirits. Gu Huainan sat at the edge of the bed and carefully brushed aside the beaded curtain swaying from my phoenix coronet. His movements were gentle, as if afraid of hurting me. The glow of the red candles fell across his face, softening his usually sharp and indifferent features. His long eyelashes cast a faint shadow beneath his eyelids, making him appear especially tender. In that moment, I actually felt my heart beat a little faster. Instinctively, I lowered my gaze to avoid his eyes, my cheeks growing slightly warm. A soft chuckle sounded in my ear. His voice was low and pleasant, with a hint of a smile.
It's late, my dear. You should rest.
Her slender fingers helped me remove the heavy hair ornaments. One by one, the golden hairpins and jeweled flowers were gently placed on the dressing table, making a crisp sound. Occasionally, her fingertips would inadvertently brush against my scalp, sending a tingling sensation through me that made my whole body shiver. I instinctively asked, my voice a bit dry, You really can't tell people apart? Gu Huainan's fingers paused, and she looked at me, her eyes carrying a hint of a smile that was not quite a smile. He leaned in close to me, his warm breath brushing past my ear, carrying a faint scent of osmanthus.
Why don't you come and see for yourself?
It was only when he got closer that I realized his eyes were deep and dark, like a bottomless lake, as if countless storms were hidden within. His gaze was so intense that I found it hard to handle, and for a moment, I actually felt a bit timid and wanted to retreat. But before I could show any weakness, he grabbed my wrist, applied a little force, and pushed me into the layers of tightly drawn curtains. The gauzy drapes swayed, blocking out the light from outside, and also concealing the gradually heating atmosphere between us. That night, it wasn't until dawn that he finally let me go, allowing me to fall into a deep sleep. Perhaps it was the release after 7 years of tension, or perhaps it was the gentleness of the person beside me that made me feel at ease. but I slept exceptionally well, not waking until the sun was high in the sky. When I woke up, Xiao Tao came in blushing, carrying toiletries. She carefully helped me sit up and said softly, "Miss, the young master said he has already spoken to the old madam. Today you don't need to go serve tea. You should rest well." My cheeks flushed as I recalled everything from last night, feeling indignant in my heart. Rumors really do mislead people. If I hadn't believed the gossip from the capital, I wouldn't have said such inappropriate things yesterday. It was truly embarrassing. After washing up, I slowly left the courtyard, but as soon as I pushed open the gate, I saw Su Ruanyuan kneeling straight on the bluestone slabs at the entrance. His face was as pale as paper, his lips were dry and cracked, and he looked extremely weak, as if he had suffered a great grievance. At a glance, her clothes were still somewhat disheveled, and a few strands of hair had come loose, making her look especially bedraggled. My heart sank, suspecting that her appearance did not bode well. Sure enough, as soon as Su Ruanyuan saw me, she immediately dropped to her knees and inched her way over to me. She clung tightly to the hem of my dress, as if grasping at a lifeline, and pleaded through her tears, "Miss Lin, please, go see Brother Beichen. Last night, while you and young Master Gu were celebrating your wedding night, he drank alone in his room all night, getting completely drunk. He mistook me for you, held me and cried the whole night, calling your name over and over. He said he regretted it, that he shouldn't have treated you that way, and begged for your forgiveness." She cried as she secretly watched my expression. Seeing that my face remained emotionless, she continued, "Miss Lin, could you go back to Beichen? He truly knows he was wrong. From now on, he will definitely treat you well, and never let you suffer even the slightest grievance again. Please forgive him this once, won't you?" As she spoke, she inadvertently turned her face slightly, revealing mottled red marks on her neck. The red marks varied in depth, and it was obvious at a glance that they were traces left from intimacy. If you looked closely, you could even catch a glimpse of her exposed skin at the slightly open collar of her shirt. Her collarbone and chest were covered with similar red marks. It seems that last night when Gu Beichen was drunk, he did far more than just hold her. And today, I doubt she truly came here to persuade me to return to Gu Beichen's side. Rather, she wanted to flaunt these marks in front of me, to make me jealous, to make me regret. I lowered my eyes to look at her, my gaze icy cold, utterly unmoved. "Isn't this exactly what you've always wanted? You've been his personal maid for so long, staying by his side day and night. Wasn't it all because you wanted him to fall for you, to make you his concubine, or even marry you as his wife? Now that your wish is about to come true, why bother coming here and putting on this act for me?" Su Ruanyuan's breath caught, and the color drained even more completely from her face. She bit her lip, a flash of panic and unwillingness passing through her eyes, but she still forced herself to look pitiful and said, "Miss Lin, that's not what I meant. I only respect Brother Beichen. I have no other intentions toward him. I just feel sorry for him. He's really suffering too much." "Is that so?" I smiled faintly, my tone tinged with a hint of sarcasm. "Instead of staring at me here, you'd be better off thinking about how to strike while the iron is hot and win over Gu Beichen. But it's a pity. Even if you marry him, I'm still your elder, his aunt. Once you enter the Gu family, you'll have to come greet me every day and properly call me aunt. Don't you think that's quite amusing?" Su Ruanyuan's face grew even more unsightly, her hands at her sides clenched tightly, her knuckles turning white, yet she remained kneeling on the ground, clearly unwilling to give in. At that moment, hurried footsteps approached, and a familiar, anxious voice rang out. "Ruanyuan, why are you here? Get up quickly." The person who arrived was none other than Gu Beichen. He was dressed in a moon-white brocade robe, his face still somewhat pale, with faint dark circles under his eyes, clearly not yet recovered from last night's hangover. As soon as he saw Su Ruanyuan kneeling on the ground, he immediately strode forward and carefully helped her up, his eyes full of distress. He was just about to turn and question me angrily, but suddenly froze, his gaze fixed on the side of my neck, where a few ambiguous kiss marks could be seen, traces left by Gu Huainan's repeated kisses on my neck last night. The marks were bright in color, standing out conspicuously against my fair skin. Gu Beichen's gaze was fixed on those ambiguous marks, his eyes as if he wanted to scrape off a piece of my flesh, filled with jealousy and anger. His voice trembled as he questioned me in disbelief. You slept with him? Lin Xingwan, how could you do this to me?" I looked straight into those eyes burning with jealousy, finding it utterly ridiculous in my heart. He was jealous, he was regretful, but none of these emotions were because he loved me. I knew Gu Beichen too well. He never knew how to cherish anything, only regretting it deeply after he had lost it. What he regretted was simply that the little bird he always held in his palm, who would come and go at his command, had suddenly flown away, and was no longer under his control. What he hated was merely that something he considered his own had been taken by someone else, making him lose face and dignity. "Gu Beichen, don't be so full of yourself." I looked at him coldly, my voice full of mockery. "The day you deliberately wrote the marriage contract wrong, treating my marriage as a wager and discarding me like a worn-out shoe, you should have expected this day to come. I, Lin Xingwan, am not an object. I am not something you can have if you want or throw away if you don't. Since you didn't cherish me, naturally someone else will." My gaze fell on Su Ruanyuan, and I said with a half smile, "It seems you and your maid had quite a good time last night." I deliberately emphasized the word maid to remind him of Su Runsoft's status, and also to see how Su Runsoft would react. Sure enough, a trace of resentment and unwillingness flashed across Su Runsoft's face. She pressed her lips together, suppressing the hatred in her heart, and said in a pitiful tone, Beichen only drank too much. He didn't do it on purpose. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have stayed there. You don't need to explain. I smiled, my tone calm. Even though you say that, the Gu family cannot ignore what is right and just let an innocent girl follow you without any explanation. Today, I will make the decision and have Gu Beichen take you as his concubine. This will at least give you a proper status and ensure you don't suffer injustice for nothing. As soon as I finished speaking, Gu Beichen immediately retorted, Are you crazy? Lin Xingwan, you actually want to force a woman on me. When did I ever say I wanted to take her as a concubine? His eyes were full of unwillingness and anger, as if he couldn't understand why I would want him to take a concubine, as if he thought Su Xuanxuan wasn't good enough for him. A thought flashed through my mind. Of course, I was doing this for revenge. Didn't he think Su Xuanxuan was so great? Wasn't he willing to give me up for Su Xuanxuan? Then I'll just make Su Xuanxuan his concubine, so he has to face this maid he once treasured every single day, and let him experience what it's like to be entangled with someone he doesn't love. Unfortunately, he's too arrogant to understand my intentions, and even if Su Xuanxuan does understand, she would never warn him. Beichen, this is for your own good. Just as I was about to apply more pressure, I suddenly heard a deep male voice, gentle, yet carrying an undeniable authority. It was actually Gu Huainan. He was sitting in a wheelchair, being pushed by his personal bodyguard, slowly emerging from the courtyard. He was dressed in a dark blue brocade robe, his face still a bit pale, but he looked much more spirited. His gentle gaze fell on me, carrying a hint of affection that was hard to notice. When Gu Huainan approached, a trace of fear flashed in Gu Beichen's eyes. Just moments ago, he had been furious, but now he immediately restrained all his emotions and bowed respectfully. Uncle, yesterday, this man had clearly been challenging Gu Huainan, but now he looked as timid as a mouse in front of a cat. I knew something must have happened between them, but I couldn't be bothered to look into it. I simply turned my gaze to Gu Huainan, wanting to see how he would handle the situation. Gu Huainan gave me a gentle smile, then turned to look at Gu Beichen. His tone was calm, yet carried a hint of authority. She is your elder. Arranging a concubine for you is naturally out of concern for you, her nephew. If you continue to behave so rudely and without respect for your elders, I'll have someone bring in a governess to teach you proper manners, so you'll understand what
They value rank.
Gu Beichen went silent, speechless. He just lowered his head, flushing. Once he was quiet, Gu Huainan continued.
Since you look down on this maid and are unwilling to take her as a concubine, then just give her a title and make her a Tongfang instead.
A Tongfang's status is much lower than that of a concubine, and she isn't even considered a true member of the household. On a daily basis, she not only has to serve the master, but also the official wife, and even the housekeeper maids can order her around. She has no dignity at all. Su Runsuan's face instantly turned as pale as paper, without a trace of color. She clutched Gu Beichen's sleeve tightly, her eyes full of pleading, as she looked at him with grievance, hoping he would fight for a better status for her. Gu Beichen was also somewhat hesitant. Although he liked Su Ruanxuan's gentle and considerate nature, he still looked down on her maid status, and didn't want to take her as a concubine, fearing it would cost him his dignity. But seeing Su Ruanxuan's tear-filled eyes, and recalling last night's tenderness, he couldn't help but feel a bit of pity. In the end, as if making up his mind, he gritted his teeth and said,
Not only will I take her as a concubine, I will make her a noble concubine. In the future, aside from the main wife, her status in the household will be the highest.
While a noble concubine's status is below a main wife, it remains far higher than an ordinary one. She enjoys her own courtyard, and servants to attend her, providing a real sense of dignity. Hearing this, I was instantly delighted. Everyone in the capital knows Su Ruanxuan ruined my engagement, and that Gu Beichen is blinded by her. If she had no official title, noble ladies might still marry him, and simply sell her off later. But Gu Beichen was foolish enough to take a noble concubine before even marrying a wife, especially a maid with such a terrible reputation. I'm afraid that from now on, all the eligible noble ladies in the capital will avoid him, and no one will ever want to marry him again. I was extremely satisfied with this outcome, so I smiled, nodded, and said, Since you've decided this, let's do as you wish. However, there's no need to make the concubine-taking ceremony too ostentatious. Just keep it simple. After all, she's only a concubine. If it's too extravagant, it will just seem inappropriate. Gu Beichen glared at me fiercely, his eyes full of resentment, but he didn't dare to argue. In the end, he could only pull Su Ruanxuan away with indignation. My gaze fell on Gu Huainan, and feeling a bit curious, I couldn't help but ask, Where did you go today? Why did you suddenly come back? After saying this, I felt a bit shy. My words actually carried a hint of coquettishness, which was unlike my usual self. Gu Huainan was taken aback for a moment, then gave a gentle smile, his eyes full of affection.
My dear, please forgive me. Today I went to see the imperial physician to discuss ways to treat my legs. I came back late and made you worry.
Is there something wrong with your health? I asked anxiously, my heart full of worry. Yesterday I saw you riding a horse. Did your legs start hurting again because of that? Seeing how concerned I looked, he was momentarily stunned, then smiled and shook his head. He reached out and gently held my hand. His palm was warm, carrying a reassuring strength.
No, it's not that. I just went to discuss the specific treatment plan for my legs with the imperial physician. In the past, I thought if I couldn't stand, then so be it. I was used to it anyway. But ever since I married you, I have someone I want to protect. Naturally, I want to recover the use of my legs, to personally take you to see the world outside, and to give you a complete home.
So it was all for me. I was quite moved, my eyes growing slightly red, and at the same time I felt a bit of joy in my heart. The fact that his legs could actually be healed was, without a doubt, wonderful news for me. What did the imperial physician say? Is there still hope for your legs? I asked cautiously, afraid of hearing a disappointing answer.
There is hope.
Gu Huainan nodded, his eyes full of determination.
The imperial physician said that my legs only suffered nerve damage, and because they haven't been used for so many years, that's why I can't stand. As long as I persist with the treatment, combine acupuncture and herbal medicine, and add appropriate exercise, there is still a good chance of making a full recovery. However, this process might be rather long, and also quite painful.
It's all right. I'll be by your side. I spoke up immediately, my tone resolute. No matter how long it takes, no matter how painful it is, I will always stay with you and take care of you until the day you recover. Gu Huainan looked at me, his eyes full of tenderness and emotion. He gently pinched my cheek and said with a smile,
Alright, with my wife by my side, I'm not afraid of anything.
Afterward, I accompanied Gu Huainan daily to his treatments. As predicted, recovery was painful. During acupuncture, needles covered his legs. The pain brought a cold sweat to his forehead, yet he gritted his teeth without complaint. When drinking the bitter medicine, he merely frowned and finished it. I saw it all and felt the pain in my heart, but all I could do was quietly wipe his sweat and prepare some candied fruit for him to help ease the bitterness in his mouth. Of course, even though I was busy taking care of Gu Huainan, I didn't just sit idly by and let Gu Beichen and Su Ranyuan enjoy themselves without a care. During these days, I deliberately had people spread the news that Gu Beichen was going to take Su Ranyuan as his favored concubine, making sure everyone in the capital knew about it. For a while, the entire capital was abuzz with gossip. Everyone was mocking Gu Beichen for his foolishness, and ridiculing Su Ranyuan for her wishful thinking. The families of those noble ladies avoided Gu Beichen even more, and those who had once considered marrying into the Gu family all gave up the idea. After all, no prestigious family would want their daughter to marry a man who first took a maid as his favored concubine. Not only would their daughter suffer, but the entire family would be disgraced. This matter even reached the ears of His Majesty and the Empress. The Emperor and Empress, married since youth, were always deeply affectionate, and despised any acts that corrupted the sanctity of marriage. The Empress summoned Madame Gu, severely rebuking her for the family's disgraceful scandal. Madame Gu's resentment toward Gu Beichen and Su Ruansuan deepened. Returning home, she ordered Beichen to be flogged with 20 strokes, leaving him unconscious from the pain. Afterwards, she had him thrown unhealed into the ancestral hall to kneel in reflection. Without her orders, he couldn't leave. Old Madame Gu usually doted on this grandson, never even scolding him. Such severe action shows how furious she truly was. Hearing this, Su Runsoft's legs went weak. She stopped her arrogant behavior, staying obediently in her courtyard, avoiding further trouble. I sneered inwardly, so now she finally knows to be afraid. On the third day of Gu Beichen's kneeling in the ancestral hall, news spread that Su Runsoft was dead. Fearing old Madame Gu's anger, she packed her valuables at night, planning to secretly board a boat and flee the capital to find a place where no one knew her and live a peaceful life. But who would have thought that her movements would be discovered by the Gu family so quickly? The Gu family's servants hurriedly went after her. In her panic, Su Ruansuan actually tried to escape by jumping into the river, but she forgot that she couldn't swim. As soon as she jumped in, she was swept away by the swift current and ultimately drowned in the river. When I heard the news, I just smiled faintly, without much emotion. No one cared why Su Ruansuan, who couldn't swim, would choose to escape by water. Nor did anyone care why she was so desperate to flee the Gu family, even to the point of jumping into the river. Some things are clear to everyone, yet they all choose to remain silent. After Gu Beichen learned of Su Ruansuan's death, he caused a scene in the ancestral hall, went mad, and even tried to rush out to demand justice for her, but was put under even stricter watch by order of the old Madame Gu. In the end, he was left helpless, able only to silently shed tears in the ancestral hall, mourning Su Ruansuan. As time went by, he seemed to gradually accept Su Ruansuan's death, and return to his seemingly carefree self. It was just that, occasionally, when Gu Huainan and I were taking a walk in the garden, he would secretly hide under the corridor and watch me from afar. At that time, I had already discovered that I was 3 months pregnant. Although my belly was not yet obvious, there was a new gentleness and softness in my expression that came with pregnancy. When his gaze fell on me, it carried a trace of complicated emotions, regret, unwillingness, and even a hint of envy that he himself had not noticed. His gaze made me feel somewhat annoyed, but I couldn't be bothered to pay him any attention. After all, to me now, he is nothing more than an irrelevant stranger. None of his emotions can affect me. Fortunately, he soon had no time to bother me anymore. Gu Beichen had wasted so many years, and for his age, he was no longer considered young in the capital. Old Madame Gu was anxious to arrange a marriage for him, hoping he would settle down soon and carry on the Gu family line. But after inquiring with 10 noble families whose daughters were of suitable age and status, all of them politely declined. Some even went so far as to directly throw out the Gu family's matchmakers, saying that the Gu family's reputation was questionable, and Gu Beichen's character was lacking. They declared that even if their daughters remained unmarried for life, they would never marry someone like him. Gu Beichen's face was dark with anger and humiliation, but there was nothing he could do about it. In the end, the only one in the capital willing to even discuss marriage with the Gu family was a 6th-rank official, whose daughter was mentally challenged. She had never understood even the most basic social norms since childhood and had remained unmarried. Seeing the Gu family's power, that official wanted to use this marriage to curry favor with them, hoping it would smooth his own career path. Once the news spread, Gu Beichen became the laughingstock of the entire capital. His situation was even more miserable than mine had been when he repeatedly broke off our engagement. Unable to endure such humiliation and ridicule any longer, he finally decided to pack up and leave the capital to gain experience in the military. He said he would make a name for himself in the military so that all those who looked down on him would be filled with regret. When the Gu family saw him off, I did not go. Xiao Tao saw me calmly sitting by the window, sewing tiger-head shoes for the child in my belly. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "Miss, I always thought your revenge was to make Gu Beichen regret his choices, to make him realize your worth, and to let him live in the pain of losing you for the rest of his life. But now you've made him so miserable, which is a bit different from what I imagined." I smiled, my hands never stopping their sewing, my voice calm. "Silly girl, you think a woman's greatest revenge is to stop loving that man, to make him regret it deeply, to make him think about you for the rest of his life. But so what? He didn't love you before, he humiliated you in every way. Do you really think that losing you will make him cherish you, that he'll regret it for a lifetime because of this? It's nothing more than a momentary pretense of affection. Before long he'll forget about you and start a new life." I paused for a moment, then continued. "The revenge I want is for him to taste, bit by bit, all the suffering and hardship I endured. I want him to waste his years away, just like I did back then, waiting in vain from youth to obscurity, until no one cares anymore. I want him to be caught up in gossip and rumors, just like I was back then, mocked by everyone in the capital. Most importantly, I want him to be abandoned by everyone, just like I was, left completely alone with no one to turn to, forced to bear all the pain by himself. In the end, I want him to be unable to stay in this Xingjing any longer, just like I was back then, with nowhere left to go, forced to flee from this place that left him covered in wounds. Only then can I truly ease the hatred in my heart, and only then will he truly understand how much harm his actions back then caused me." Xiao Tao nodded as if she half understood, saying nothing more, simply staying quietly by my side. I was indeed a bit surprised that Gu Beichen went to join the military. I hadn't expected that he would have such backbone, willing to humble himself and endure hardship in the army, but I didn't pay much attention to it. After all, his life has long since ceased to have anything to do with me. But perhaps fate likes to toy with people. Less than half a month later, news came of Gu Beichen's death. It was said that he had been poisoned, and the person who killed him turned out to be Su Ruanxuan's former lover. No one knew that Su Ruanxuan had already had someone in her heart. Her beloved was an ordinary scholar from a poor family. Su Ruanxuan, greedy for wealth and status, abandoned him. She pretended to be a refugee orphan, deliberately arranged to be rescued by Gu Beichen, and then step by step climbed to the position of Gu Beichen's personal maid, hoping to use this to rise to power and prosperity. That scholar never stopped thinking about Su Ruanxuan, and searched everywhere for her whereabouts. In the end, he finally learned that she had become Gu Beichen's concubine, but then she suddenly drowned in the river. The scholar was heartbroken and believed that Gu Beichen was responsible for Su Ruanxuan's death, so he secretly followed Gu Beichen, seeking to avenge her. That day, Gu Beichen was on his way to the army and stopped to stay at an inn along the way. Coincidentally, the owner of that inn was the very same scholar. While the two were chatting idly, Gu Beichen inadvertently mentioned the news of Su Ruanxuan's death. He even spoke with contempt, mocking Su Ruanxuan for overestimating herself, trying to cling to the powerful, and ultimately ending up as food for the fish. The scholar had always been deeply in love with Su Ruanxuan. Upon hearing Gu Beichen's words, he was instantly overcome with rage, unable to suppress the hatred in his heart any longer, and so he poisoned Gu Beichen's food. Gu Beichen, completely unsuspecting, ate the poisoned food and soon died from the poison, passing away in the inn. After this news spread, Gu Beichen's reputation became even worse. Everyone said he deserved it, and cursed him for getting what he deserved. Old Madame Gu was so furious that she spat blood, and she didn't even allow him to be buried in the ancestral tomb. In the end, after he died, he was simply wrapped in a straw mat and buried carelessly in a mass grave outside the city, without even a tombstone. When Xiao Tao told me this news, I was sitting in the courtyard basking in the sun. Gu Huainan was beside me, peeling the sour juju preserves I've been fond of lately. After hearing it, I just smiled faintly, without much emotional fluctuation. He hasn't had anything to do with me for a long time. In the end, he brought it all upon himself. Gu Huainan looked at me, his eyes full of tenderness. He brought the peeled sour jujube preserve to my lips and said softly, "It's all in the past. From now on, things will only get better for us." I nodded, opened my mouth and ate the sour jujube preserve. The sweet and sour taste spread in my mouth, just like my life now. After all the bitterness of the past, I finally welcomed the sweetness of the present. My gaze fell on Gu Huainan. After these days of treatment, his leg had already shown significant improvement. Although he still couldn't stand or walk for long periods, he was now able to slowly take steps with the help of a crutch. He was still holding a small bag of sour jujube preserves in his hand, all things I've been fond of eating lately. Sunlight spilled over him, casting a golden halo around him and making him appear especially warm. I knew my life had started anew. All those painful experiences, all those unbearable memories had already become things of the past. From now on, I will live a good life with Gu Huainan, raise our child together, watch as his leg gradually recovers, go out and see the world together, and spend all the years to come side by side. I will never let anyone or anything